Welcome to The Married Therapist,
a relationship podcast
hosted by us, Luis and Amber Simide.
This podcast is all about love, conflict, and the gray areas.
If you like what you hear, be sure to like and subscribe wherever you're listening. Now let's get to the show.
Welcome back to our podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Age of Attraction, which is a dating show on Netflix. We talked about age gap relationships a couple episodes ago before the show even came out. But lately we've been seeing a lot of chatter online about it and in our personal lives. So we wanted to specifically talk about this show and provide our thoughts.
The basic premise is they have a bunch of singles in this retreat, right? This wilderness retreat, and they're all speed dating each other. The only catch is they don't know each other's age. So they're getting to know each other, finding out where they're from, things like that. And then once they connect with someone, they can choose to continue with them and then go to the promise room. Now, at the promise room, they will agree to continue with the experiment where they will live with each other for a couple of weeks, at which point they will start to meet their friends and family and all of that. Now, it's in the promise room where they finally get to reveal how old they are. And so once they see that, they can agree okay, that's a lot, or that's not too much, or whatever. And then they go on to the next part and then see their friends and family and all of that stuff. So that's the basic premise. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about our thoughts on each couple, what we saw, what we agree with, what we didn't agree with, and all of that. So for you, what were your thoughts on just the basic premise of the show?
Before getting into it, we want to just give a spoiler alert. If you have not watched the show and plan to, go ahead and pause this, watch the show, and then come back. But if you don't really care, then cool. We'll go ahead and reveal all of our thoughts. So I was intrigued. That being said, I also was a little nervous, specifically for the older men who like to go after younger women because of that little predatory piece that could possibly be present. I was like, oh, I hope this is not a thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it did become a thing, but here we are. What about you? What were your first thoughts?
No, same. I was definitely intrigued by the concept, but was definitely side-eyeing some of the things, right? Because like you said, it could open the door to some really dangerous mindsets. And especially in light of the Epstein files, right? I think that's fresh in everyone's mind when the show came out. So, they say age is just a number, but the reality is it's not just a number in a lot of ways. Now, when you're older, it can be just a number. But like we talked about in our age gap relationship episode, developmentally, it matters where you're at. And we saw that, right? In this episode, there were some people who were 22 and dating much older people. And so it definitely got into some dicey areas. But in general, the concept of the show, I was intrigued enough to watch it. So let's just get into the couples now that they did follow. There were 6 couples, all with pretty significant age gap relationships. The smallest, I think, was 15 years, and the largest was 33 years. So let's start with the first one. So Vanessa and Logan, they had a 20-year age gap. I know we had lots of thoughts on them. So what were your general thoughts about this relationship?
I didn't really buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there was a lot that we didn't see, of course. Everything is highly edited, but they were bickering. They didn't seem like they were in alignment. I felt like there was a lot of emotional immaturity on Vanessa's end. And I just felt like it was rushed.
Yeah.
So it was very bizarre, honestly, for the whole thing for me.
Yeah.
We can talk later about where everyone is currently. But yeah, as I was watching it, I was just like, interesting. I didn't really have any issues with him.
Yeah.
But I was just like, wow, she seems not only immature, but needy, kind of whiny, and just kind of a low sense of self. I'm like, girl, you're almost 50.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she had a lot of insecurities that she hasn't dealt with. And this was a theme that I saw throughout the entire show. I think a lot of the older people had a lot of things that they've experienced, right? Because they're older, so of course they've experienced things. But I think the majority of them, if not all of them, hadn't really dealt with their stuff. And they were really projecting onto the younger people all of their issues and just kind of saying that it was, oh, because they're younger, that they're having these issues. And it's like, no, I think you're the problem in a lot of these relationships. Now, some of the younger people did have some issues, but in general, I think a lot of the older people had some challenges. And yeah, and Vanessa being one of the main ones that both of us saw. Yeah, I agree. I think she was emotionally immature in a way that you would typically see in like a teenager or even like young 20s, just needing a lot of reassurance and needing a lot of validation. And it's not bad to need validation. Like we all need that on some level. But for her, he was giving that validation, but she wasn't receiving it and constantly asking him. And then when he wasn't as much as she wanted to, she was saying, "Oh, it's because I'm older." It's like, no, you're fine. Like he's validating you, and but you're just not seeing it. And so there was just a lot there. But
And it makes sense because she had her daughter when she was 18.
hmm
So her daughter was 31 years old, older than her partner.
yes,
And this is classic arrested development.
hmm
She's almost 50 years old, but still functions like someone who's 18 or in their early
hmm
20s. And I know that was very difficult for Logan. He was,
hmm
I'm here, I'm showing up, I'm telling you, I'm not going anywhere.
hmm
And it was very difficult for her to understand that.
yeah. So they go to the promise room, agree to go to the next step. So we get back to their apartment where they're living together and start to meet their friends and family. And she had a friend who was also like in her 30s, which was interesting because she's 49 and she has like a best friend who's like 31 or something like that. And honestly, I didn't like this friend for her. She was really just kind of gassing her up and not really pointing out the things that she needed to work on, because she's talking about Logan and she meets Logan and is just talking about all of his flaws and things that she perceives as flaws. But I know you and I were both watching it and seeing like there are things that you need to work on, ma'am. And the fact that your friend isn't pointing this out or even pointing this out as a possibility, like, hey, have you ever thought about this? Just kind of all putting on Logan, I feel like was unfair for him. And so they were kind of painting this picture like, oh, he's this young person who doesn't have experience and he is not emotionally mature. When I just feel like he was a lot more mature than her. So,
I did like that her friend mentioned that they were bickering a lot and how that wasn't normal.
yeah.
She was like, "Whoa, this is happening. Not normal. I'm uncomfortable.
hmm
What do you think?" I thought
Yeah.
that was huge to be that direct with your friend who's so excited. And I'm
Yeah.
glad that they included that so we could see that.
Yeah, but even in that, it seems like she was kind of placing the blame of the bickering on Logan and not on Vanessa at all. She's like, "Hey, that's a big red flag. You should watch out for him." It's like, yes, I don't think they should be bickering, and he may have some things to work on as far as how he communicates with you. But also, Vanessa was jumping in a lot when he was trying to explain things and kind of cutting him off, and so which was kind of setting up things for them to be bickering, and that wasn't really addressed at all. So, so there was that.
So then we meet Logan's parents, and something
Mhm,
that stood out during that meetup was the topic of kids. He
mhm,
said, okay, well, you're with someone who's almost 50 and most likely not going to be able to have kids. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know historically you've talked about that.
mhm,
And that was a huge moment, I think, for us as an audience to be like, oh, we didn't really know that either. And Logan was thinking about it and he said, oh, I mean, kind of hemming and hawing. And
mhm.
I know he did his little on the fly interview. It looked like he was very conflicted.
Yeah,
Kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm fine. Leave me alone, mom and dad. But also like, what do I think about that? So
yeah.
I thought that was huge because that's a really big deal.
Mhm,
She has one daughter who's 31 years old. Most likely, you guys can't have kids unless you do something like adopt
yeah.
or get a surrogate. And so I'm like, what do you really want, Logan? Is this truly okay for you? Are your parents just being good parents and
Mhm.
reminding you about some things that you mentioned in the past? Or are they truly just kind of busting your balls and
Yeah,
not trusting you for who you are today? Because we
yeah,
do have the ability to change our minds.
yeah, 100%. And I I I will say the majority of the parents were actually great. They kind of just let their kids make their decisions. They weren't really saying like, you can't do this. Because I know in other shows like Love is Blind, you do see some of that with the parents. Like, you can't do this. Like, this is not okay. And the parents here were pretty respectful. They're like, we don't get it, but you're an adult. You can make your own decisions at this point. So good luck with that. I mean, they expressed concerns sometimes, but they weren't saying it in a way that made the other person feel like they were doing something wrong necessarily. I did want to talk a little bit about earlier in their time in the apartments. Vanessa started to compare her relationship with the other relationships, right? The first time they all met up, everyone was really cuddly and close to each other. And she was like, oh, we're just holding hands. Something's wrong with us. And the reality is, everyone is different, right? This is a very weird experiment. And if you're not comfortable being all cuddly, that's okay. It's not abnormal. But she took that and ran with it. And she was just like, Logan, I don't feel like you like me. Do you even think I'm attractive? Like, and he's like, what? Like, we cuddle, we kiss, like, we talk all the time, and I validate you. And she's like, yeah, but I just feel like we're friends. I'm like, I don't know about you, but I don't do all that with my friends. So, it was a very confusing thing. And I think for her, she heard that, Teresa and John had sex and all these other couples had sex, but like they hadn't had sex. So in her mind, she's like, we haven't had sex. There must be something wrong. And he clocked it. He's like, it sounds like you just want to have sex. And she was like, no, it's not that. It's just that I feel like we're friends. And he's like, no, we're doing everything else. We're just not having sex. And that's a problem for you, which I think it was, but she was saying that it wasn't, which I don't know. So, like, what were your thoughts about that whole thing?
Yeah, it's interesting because she mentioned this whole concept of the 4th of July.
Yeah.
So it sounds like she went on the show thinking it was going to be this light and fun
Mhm.
thing. I'm going to have a fling with a young, hot guy and go about my business. And so, yeah, for her, have sex first, make it passionate, and then we can go ahead and focus on other things. And
Mhm.
for him, he was the opposite.
Yeah.
So she kind of had to have a mindset shift there. And another thing that stood out was the fact that she's been engaged 4 times.
Yeah, they never addressed that. They never talked about like what happened with those 4 engagements in 4 years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we need all the information. That's a really big deal, not just 4 relationships in 4 years. Who proposed? Why was it called off?
Mhm.
You're the common denominator, so
Yeah.
if she were my client, I definitely would wanna know, what was your part to play in the demise of those relationships?
Yeah, I'm sure all of them weren't the guy's fault, but maybe they were. Maybe they were all quote unquote crazy. I don't know. That's what they always say. But
So their big issue was just the fact that she was very insecure,
mhm,
projected a lot, didn't seem to heal from her previous relationships, had that arrested development because she had a daughter at 18 years old, and him constantly having to reassure and
mhm.
validate her feelings.
Yeah, and I thought it was really sad at one point because they were doing one of the on the fly interviews with Logan, and he was talking about all the things that he needs to work on. He's like, oh, I think I might just be really immature. And you and I were just like, are we missing something? Because like, you're fine. Like, I didn't see any red flags with him really at all. They were all really on her, but I don't know. Maybe there were some things that we weren't seeing. I have no idea, but that's just kind of how their relationship went. And so fast forward to the end where they can decide if they're wanting to continue their relationship after the show. Now, mind you, something else that we didn't really love about this concept is everyone lived in different parts of the country. Like, they were not anywhere near each other. I think he was from Dallas and she was from Ohio. And so it's like everyone is gonna have to do a long distance relationship, which is hard at baseline. But then when you meet in this way and you have an age gap, it just adds all of these things that are unnecessary. So I feel like all of these are doomed to fail, but they decide to move forward and he actually proposes, which is I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, I don't understand what is going
Yeah,
on.
shocked everyone
Yeah,
because they were not the front runner at all.
not at all. But yeah, he proposes and she says yes. And then fast forward to the reunion and they're still together. One of the 2 couples that are still together,
Going strong.
going strong, still engaged. I'm like, what is happening? So I'm curious to see how that unfolds and if that wedding comes to fruition, because it seems like it's not going to work out. But I mean, they've made it as far as maybe it is going to work out. They're just that couple that is toxic enough to work out. I don't know.
So the next couple is Libby and Andrew. Libby is 22 and Andrew is 38. So they have a
Mhm.
16-year age gap.
Yeah.
My first thoughts about Libby is very cute, young, bubbly, typical Gen Z college girl,
Hmm.
content creator who is just here for a good time.
Yeah.
She made me laugh so many times because I could just see how awkward she was.
Yeah.
And I now follow her on TikTok, and she has said that in her Get Ready With Me video. She's like, guys, I was so overwhelmed by the cameras. I'm like, yeah, girl, we could tell. And I thought she was just Miss Jokey Joke.
Hmm.
I actually don't like that when it's a serious situation and people are just constantly joking. I find myself often being like, oh my gosh, everything is not a joke.
Yeah.
So she definitely was LOLing a lot of things. I did find out though that she was like that because she didn't think they were serious because he had another connection. So she's like,
Mm,
guys, I was in a love triangle. Andrew's other connection was a woman his same age.
mm.
So Libby is saying, I didn't think at all that he would be down to be with me. He didn't know how old I was, but clearly I'm a lot younger. And so that's why she didn't take a lot of stuff seriously.
And this was during the retreat part?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So she was saying during those scenes where it didn't seem like she was serious, she's like, guys, that's when he was in the thick of it. And then eventually he winded up choosing me. And then I had to slowly but surely get over my fear of the cameras and
Hmm.
kind of unwind. But she just was like, having all these cameras around you is not normal. And I don't know how to be. So sorry, but this is what you get.
Yeah, and I know even past the retreat and into their apartment, there was a lot of personality things that you and I didn't like with just like the sarcastic kind of busting your balls kind of mindset. Like just be serious. Like what is happening? She's like, well, I guess you can share the bed with me because I guess I kind of like you a little bit. It's like, what? I just say what you know.
Yeah. It's very like high school.
It was very young, but again, she's 22, so it makes sense. But we did see that she got a little bit more serious with Andrew, which is what he was looking for, because even though he did tend to date younger women, which we can talk about that in a little bit, because that's a whole issue in and of itself. Even though he tends to go for younger people, he does like some depth with his women, which I get. So she started to show that side, which was good to see. But when it comes to Andrew specifically, what were your thoughts on just everything with him, starting from the retreat going forward?
My first thought with him was, why are you interested in young women? You're almost 40, and that's not only what you want for this show, but that's historically what you've dated.
Hmm.
Maybe there's no issue there, but from a clinical standpoint, if he was my client, I definitely would want to unpack that. He does have two children, and at the time of the show, his oldest was 14.
Hmm.
Not that much younger than Libby. And so, like, That being said, very similar to Vanessa, he was young when he had his kids,
Hmm.
stunted, maybe. And so, yeah, now that he's older and the kids are older and it's time to date, he just naturally wants to date someone who's the same age he became a father.
Yeah.
So, all of that definitely makes sense. I didn't get any creepy vibes from him.
Hmm.
He did seem pretty solid. He's a business owner. And I like how he did challenge her, like, hey, let's get deep.
Hmm.
He seemed, though, to want like the levity, like, let's LOL all the time because I'm running a business. I've got kids. And so I kind of want to be light and fun. But let's go ahead and round it out
Hmm.
and make sure that we're also talking about deeper things. And as the show went on, Libby was able to meet him there. Of course, I'm sure there were so many conversations
Yeah.
that we didn't get to see that were helpful and that really made their connection deepen. But yeah, I thought he was, for the most part, pretty good. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. Overall, he seemed solid. There were just some moments that were kind of red flags for me and kind of took me back a little bit. So initially when we're introduced to him, he's like, I'm a young, hot dad. And it's like, okay, bro, like that's weird to say about yourself. But beyond that, he seemed like a solid guy. But yeah, so not only does he have kids, but they're 2 daughters, right? And yeah, like you said, the oldest is 14. And I didn't like that he said that he tends to date younger girls. Just like calling them girls just felt
Yeah.
icky to me, right? 'Cause it's like you have girls. Like, why are you saying you date younger girls who are close to your daughter's age? Like, it's a little interesting. But beyond that, he seemed like a solid guy. His vocal fry was annoying, just the way he talked. Just like,
Yes.
yeah, I just wanna. It's like, okay, just talk normal, please. But anyway, he seemed mature. You know, he does have some depth, and I think having kids will do that to you. Like, you just are just a different person. But I think the fact that his friends were not surprised that he ended up with a 22-year-old blonde girl says a lot about his dating history. But at the end of the day, they're one of the 2 that are still together today. So, I guess that it's working on some level. But we didn't watch the full reunion because there was just a lot of challenges with it. But I did see in some of the clips that she hasn't met his daughters yet, which I'm curious to know why that is.
Mhm.
Because I think they filmed the reunion like a year after they stopped filming the show. So after a year of being together, you would think that you would have met the kids at this point. So,
He said that he is very careful about that
which
and
makes
only wants to
sense.
do that if he knows he's gonna marry the person.
Okay, well, that makes a little bit more sense. Um,
So she's visited him,
mhm.
but just wasn't able to meet the girls yet.
Okay. Well, I feel better about that. But yeah, just beyond those few red flags, I think he's a solid guy, and I do think they could make it going forward. Just depends on the whole distance thing at some point. So the next one is Teresa and John. She's 54 and he is 27, literally half her age. 27-year age gap. So throughout the show, they seemed like the golden couple, right? Everything was going well. Nothing was going poorly. Like, they had great communication. They really loved each other. They're really affectionate, really passionate. But as the show progressed, I think she really started to see, like, oh, this is real life. Like, I have 3 kids. My oldest, 29 years old, right? 2 years older than her boyfriend. And I think that really ate at her because for her, unfortunately, it sounds like she's been through some really difficult relationships, and she didn't want to be hurt again, but then also didn't want her kids to be hurt again. And so she was really cautious about her kids in all of this, right? Like, she didn't want to hurt them. She didn't want to make them feel any kind of way. And unfortunately, she did seem to place her kids' needs above her own in a lot of ways and kind of lost touch with what she really wanted. Because throughout the show, it seemed like she really did want John. She really did love him, but she really let this perception of what the world would see and what her kids would see really get in the way and start messing with her head. And we saw a little bit of that when she met his mom and sister, and then when he met her kids. She had a lot more doubts and she was a lot less confident in their relationship, which is really sad because I feel like John throughout the entire time was super confident, did not care about the age gap, didn't really want kids, and so he was fine with everything. But she kind of let a lot of what the world perceives and how the world would see them really get in the way of what she really wanted, which was really sad. And we saw that at the reunion too. Like, I think they tried to work it out, but all of these things kept getting in the way. And so, in general, what were your thoughts about the whole relationship?
Yeah, I echo what you said. And I think she just needs to do a lot of inner work. She did say that she's gone through a lot beginning when she was 18 years old and she lost her brother.
Hmm.
They were very close. So dealing with that abandonment, dealing with that grief, and then fast forward. She didn't go into a lot of detail about the relationship that she had with her kid's father, but she did mention that over time she has been cheated on. She's had
Hmm.
lots of issues when it comes to trust. And so that version of her is what we all saw and what John had to deal with. And it was really sad. I kept wanting to just jump through the screen and be like, girl, but what do you want?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, are you happy? Because it seems like when you can quiet the noise, you know exactly that he's your guy.
Hmm.
You can feel that peace. But the weight of the world, her kid's opinion, society's opinion was just too heavy. She couldn't ignore it. And
Hmm.
it's not ever gonna work,
Yeah.
whether it's someone like them doing it on a show or someone in real life. If you have those really, really huge insecurities that you
Yeah.
just can't seem to really get over, you're just set up for failure.
Yeah, and I really liked her kids. Her kids seem to really be in tune with the fact that she has put herself last so often because they're like, "Mom, we just want you to be happy." Like what they were saying exactly what you were saying through the screens. Like, "What, Mom, what do you want?" Like if you are happy, we're happy for you. But I think a part of her just didn't believe that. I think she still thought that they would think something different. Now, granted, the kids didn't know his actual age.
Yes, that was a big
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, so she didn't wanna tell them his age because they were like she was just like, "I want you to know him the way that I knew him, the way that I got to know him without knowing his age first, and then once you guys are solid with him, then I'll tell you his age." Which I get on one hand because there's still that fear of what they're gonna think, but at the end of the day, they wanted her to be happy, and I think she needed to believe that, like, and she just wasn't believing their word, which
Yeah.
sucks.
And John said that, like, "Oh, I wish she would have been more confident."
Mhm,
Because he was at that lunch with her kids. He did wind up leaving, so that way she can connect with them one on one. But in his on the fly interview, he said, "Oh, I
mhm,
wish I saw that." And how different would it have been if she would have held her head up high, gone to that lunch with them, and been like, "This is John. He's my partner. He's 27 years old. We have a 27-year age gap. We're fine with it. Sometimes we're not, but we're working through it. But I
mhm,
want you guys to get to know him. He's this, and this." Not only would that have helped John understand, like, okay, this is solid, but the kids too. Oftentimes people will mirror the way that you are. So if you're
mhm,
confident, that's contagious. And they'll be
mhm.
like, oh, okay, wow, that's a large age gap. So we're all going to recognize the elephant in the room.
Yeah,
And my mom looks super happy. I've never seen my mom smile like this. The eye contact that she gives to him is just incredible. And okay, cool. We'll see where it goes. But she wasn't able to do that because she wasn't secure and
mhm.
confident.
Yeah, and I agree with you. People do tend to mirror what you model, especially when it's a parent-child dynamic, right? Like, kids, even when they're older, they will kind of take what you are giving and kind of respond in the same way. That's true of any relationship, but especially in that dynamic. So going forward to decision day, they ultimately agreed to move forward. I mean, she kind of had this long drawn out answer that seemed like she was going to say no, which he was like, where's this coming from? But ultimately she said she wanted to try. And the kids wrote a letter, a really touching letter that apparently she hadn't read until that moment, essentially just saying what we've said before, like, we just want you to be happy. We love this for you, mom. Like, we're okay with it, but essentially giving her permission to move forward, which it sounds like was exactly what she needed to say. She wanted to move forward with it. Now, fast forward to the reunion. It sounds like they tried, but there were a lot of communication issues. And ultimately, I think John just got tired of that insecurity of the age gap that she was carrying. And he's just like, I can't keep picking you up and letting you know that I'm okay with this if you're not going to be okay with it.
Next, we have Derek and Piper. He is 43 and she is 23. So they've got a 20-year age gap.
Yep.
First thoughts about her, I really liked her.
I did too.
I thought she was very mature, extremely different from Libby. Not
Yeah.
to say that she was better, it just was a stark contrast.
Mhm.
She was honest, like, "Hey, I've never dated anyone this age." He does have kids, so she said, "I've never dated someone with kids, but I'm willing to learn.
Mhm.
I am super open to this process and let's do it." Very chill, down to earth, and seemed like she had a really good head on her shoulders.
Mhm.
What were your first thoughts about her?
Yeah, same. I think she definitely presented herself as much older than 23. And they didn't get into what she's been through, but according to Derek, she's been through a lot, which kind of helped her be a little bit more mature. Oftentimes, trauma does that to people. It kind of just makes them grow up a little quicker, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But yeah, for them, it worked out because, yeah, he could have these in depth conversations with her and really talk about heavier things and she could meet him right there. And so I think that's one of the reasons why it worked so well with them. And yeah, like you said, she said she never been with kids, but was like, "Yeah, I'm willing to try this out." Like, I know I'm not gonna know a lot, but I'm willing to learn with you. And I think that said a lot about her as a person. Now her parents were definitely concerned because they're like, "You're 23, you have your whole life ahead of you. Like, do you really want to be a step parent right now at this point in your life?" And I think she definitely had to consider their opinions about things, but at the end of the day, made the decision like, no, I am willing to go forward with this with Derek. And as far as Derek goes, I really like Derek. He seemed like a really solid guy. Seemed very nice, very kind, just a sweet man. And from what I've read online, his friends were just like, yeah, that's the Derek that we know and love. Like he was portrayed extremely accurately on the show, and that was good. There was one thing that we saw with him that wasn't great, just in how he responded to her fears about moving to Dallas and having to uproot her entire life, right? Because she's in Seattle and has a career. They didn't really get into what exactly she's doing up there, but she has a career up there on a contract or something like that. But she was concerned, and rightfully so. She's gonna have to give up her place that she's living, give up her friends, give up her career to move to Dallas for a man, and she's just, like, scared and she's crying.
And she said she would never do that.
Yeah, yeah, so she's going against her personal values to do something that she feels like she needs to for this guy, and so, initially, he was comforting her and consoling her in an appropriate way. But then he's just like, I just need you to be happy, essentially. Like, I can't have you being upset.
Yeah, like keep the peace.
Yeah, like I need you to be good, so I'm good. And it's like, what? Like, I this is a big deal. Like, I'm not allowed to be sad about this. I'm allowed to be scared. And she totally shut down. She's just like, cool. Like, I just can't be sad.
Yeah.
And
I feel like something switched in her brain in that
hmm
moment.
yeah, yeah. But what were your general thoughts about Derek throughout the show?
First thing is that he has incredible skin.
Yes.
I have skin envy and was just like, "Oh my gosh, I need his skincare routine." But yeah, also felt he's very, very kind, sweet. I didn't get that weird, icky, creepy vibe that I got from some of the older
Yeah.
people. And same thing, he had kids young, and so maybe he's just kind of interested in younger people because that's the age that he was when he became a father.
Mhm.
But I thought out of everyone in the whole cast that he was the most normal and healthy.
Yeah, 100%. So, they had some challenges to work through throughout this show, but at the end of the day, they agreed to continue seeing each other after the show ended. But unfortunately, we did see that shortly after they stopped filming, they broke up. We don't know the details of why. I don't know if you've seen that on TikTok or anything.
I just
Why?
know she did visit him,
Mm,
but she never moved.
okay.
And also he discovered that she lived in a sorority house
Oh.
of sorts because when she visited, she left something and she wanted him to send it to her and so provided her address and he just looked up the address and saw that it was some
Okay.
kind of a sorority house and he was like, "Hmm." People online are saying, "Okay, well, that makes sense." I mean, she's 23 years old, and I didn't watch, like, his response to that, but that's just kinda something that threw him off a bit.
Yeah, and as a side note, I did see some things online about Pfeiffer that the show kind of made her tone down her look a little bit more because, you see her on social media when you look her up, and she's a total like alt girl, like with piercings and cool hair and just dresses, different. And so the way that she presented herself on the show is very different, I think, than how she presents herself in real life. So I think that may have had something to do with it. Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, that was interesting to see after the fact.
Yeah, she said that casting wanted them all to wear bright colors and different outfits for different events, like, okay, have a cocktail outfit or have a athleisure outfit, and she said it was still her, it just was this kind of elevated version,
Mm,
and she also has a septum piercing, which
yeah.
we've now seen on TikTok, but on the show, she just had a stud
Mhm.
for her nose piercing, and so people are like, "Oh, you're so different." She's like, "Yeah, I mean, it's like different versions of me, but nobody told me that I had to dress older.
Mm,
They just had a wardrobe expectations,
hmm.
and that's what I chose to wear."
Gotcha. Okay, well, that makes sense. Just from a, I guess, optic standpoint. Yeah.
Right.
All right, so there's two more couples left, and this next couple, Chris and Leah. Chris is 26, and Leah was 41 at the time of the show, so a 15-year age gap. On the show at the retreat, it was such a weird way that they got together because right before Chris got with Leah, literally the day before, he was making out with Vanessa in the pool, which remember Vanessa is with Logan now. And so I think he was just kind of jumping around it, not really knowing what he wanted, but then just kind of ended up with Leah. And so the fact that they even made it to the promise room was wild to both of us. We're like, how did that happen?
Mhm.
But looking back, knowing what we kind of know about Leah now, I feel like Leah just wanted someone. So I think it didn't really matter who it was as long as someone said yes to her. So I think that was probably at play there. So anyway, they get to the promise room, they say yes, and move on to their apartment. And when we see them in their apartment, it's just so frustrating to watch because again, Chris hadn't been in a serious relationship ever. And so now is not only in a relationship, but is also living with someone, which he's never done either. So that's a huge shift. And there's cameras and all these things. And so he's struggling. We see that. It seems like he's an introvert, kind of needs his time to himself, has his routine where he works out and does things. And Leah just seemed like kind of a leech. Like she just could not be away from him. Even there was a point where he was gonna take a shower. She's like, "Oh, you're gonna leave me? I hate you." Like kind of jokingly, but not jokingly. It's
Yeah.
like you like
It's
girl,
suffocating.
it's yeah, and he was struggling. And unfortunately she was receiving that as rejection when really he just needs alone time, which is normal to do normal things like go to the gym or, and I think for him, his routine was his sanity. And because he couldn't have his routine, he was just all out of sorts. And so that was just a frustrating dynamic to witness. So, what were your thoughts like with them in general?
With him initially, I was thinking, this kid doesn't want anything serious.
Mhm.
He's young. I feel like he's just kind of down for a good time
Yeah.
just to see what kind of
A
happens.
Miami boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he got with Leah, I was like, wait, what? And echo what you said about it just being awkward watching him drown essentially. And what sucks too about Leah, being a Black woman, oftentimes on these shows is just not good.
Yeah.
Either someone plays in our faces or we're painted to be a villain or something like that. And so I'm like, okay, you're 41 and she's a flight attendant. And she
Mhm.
said, I am on the road. I am by myself all the time. So for her, she was excited
Mhm.
to finally have a person and she wasn't working. So it was like, ooh, yay, yay, yay. I do think it was weird and maybe they intentionally edited that way. Who knows? But I was like, girl, no,
Mhm.
just let him take a shower.
Yeah.
And high key, I was triggered because I went through something similar in my abusive marriage with the shower thing. But I was like, okay, you guys are together and you're two separate people who
Yeah.
need your own time. So not even like, ha ha ha, girl, let him shower or let him go to the gym. It's like, no, seriously, calm down, do your own thing.
Yeah.
Living together is 2 weeks or something. It's a short period of time. But I guess she could have said, we only have 2 weeks.
Mhm.
After this, we're going to go on our own, especially because, as you mentioned, no one lived in the same place. Plus, she's a flight attendant. So she's going
Yeah.
to be back on the road too. So I think she was a little eager beaver. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, that blew up in her face.
Yeah, I think she's extremely anxious as far as attachment styles, like just kind of needs that. And I think the timeline definitely heightened things for her because she's wanting to squeeze everything she can out of this experiment. But he's like, I still need to be me. And again, she just wasn't letting him do that.
Another thing with Chris was that his eyes were open so much when he had a meeting with his mom.
Hmm.
Leah got to meet the mom too, and then she left. And the mom was like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you happy? Are you good? He already was struggling. And in that moment, you could see the pain, the turmoil, the confusion. But also I feel like I saw a light switch go off in his brain of like, my mom is confirming what I already felt.
Yeah.
I am not okay. And I love that the mom was just being real. She wasn't being rude. She wasn't being mean. She also wasn't coddling him like, oh, my little baby. She
Yeah.
just was like, I forget exactly what she asked, but it was just very plain, like simple questions. And I feel like that's exactly what he was waiting for. So then
Mhm.
after that, I think his decision was made. Granted, I think his decision was already made, but it was solidified after
Yeah.
the meeting with the mom.
Yeah, I think she had just asked like, "Are you happy?" And he just
Mm.
like, I'm not." Like he said he couldn't be himself. Like he's losing himself,
Yeah.
which I think is telling in a relationship that early on, right? If
Yeah.
you feel like you can't be yourself, you feel like you are constantly giving and not receiving anything, because it sounds like for him, he really needed all of that to fuel him. And he's just depleted at this point.
Mhm.
And so you see that play out and you get to the mountaintop where they make the decision to move on or to end things there. And of course they end things and she's surprised. I'm like, what, girl? What? Why are you surprised? Like this is clearly not working. But I think she just wanted it to work so bad, and she's constantly feeling this rejection that unfortunately I think she feels like something's wrong with her,
Mhm.
which kind of feeds this anxiety, which so I think that there's just a lot of inner work she needs to do to really be okay with herself first, to not need someone else to fulfill that in her before she can really have that fulfilling relationship that she's looking for.
So fast forward, the reunion happens. We find out that he is on Perfect Match.
Oh yeah, yes.
So for those who don't know, Perfect Match is another dating show on Netflix. It's very light. It is
Hmm.
not like Love is Blind or
Yeah.
anything serious. Young hot singles get together. They're all dating. They're trying to find their perfect match. There's cute little challenges. And at the end, they crown one couple as being like the couple who had the best match.
Yeah, and they take people from other shows, so like
Yes.
Netflix or now Age of Attraction or The Ultimatum, just other dating shows that have been out.
Yeah. Like the Netflix universe
Hmm.
contestants all coming together to date each other. Although the last season, they opened it up and they had a couple people from the Bachelor franchise.
Oh yeah,
But anyways, he's gonna be on that show, which is fitting because
yeah,
he's young, he's attractive. I don't think he was even there to seriously meet someone,
yeah.
and that was discussed on the reunion. The reunion was 3 hours long.
That's a whole episode in of itself talking about the reunions. That was a mess.
For those who may be wondering where the reunion is, it's not on Netflix. It's actually on YouTube. So the host of the show, they're Nick and Natalie Joy Vile, and they had a podcast called The Vile Files. So the reunion was on their YouTube channel. So, anyways, I did hear that Leah asked the cast who all thinks Chris was here for the right reasons. No one raised their hands.
Oh no,
So
yikes.
I think that tells you something. Do I think he's a demon? No.
Yeah.
However, be real, be
Hmm.
honest. If you're not really wanting that, say that. Leah felt like she was led on,
Yeah, I'm kind of
and
used,
yeah.
which probably reinforces a lot of her fears and anxieties, unfortunately. So that sucks.
Mhm.
But something else that we saw online was that Leah and John were caught canoodling at some bar or club somewhere. So I'm like, okay, is that a thing now? Like, what's happening? There wasn't a lot of context and it's a blurry picture, so maybe it's nothing, but it might be something. So
And as a reminder, John was Teresa's former partner,
correct.
aka Prince Harry.
Yeah, he had definitely a Prince Harry vibe to him. And then this last couple, this couple was so just frustrating in so many ways. We have Jorge and Vanel. This was the largest age gap. She was 27, he was 60 years old. So a 33-year age gap. Oh my gosh. I had so many problems with a lot of this relationship, but starting off, at the retreat, Vanel was torn between Jorge and Justin. Both of us loved Justin. He seemed like such a sweet, nice guy that would treat Vanel so well, treat her like a queen. He was very sensitive and had a good head on his shoulders, like just seemed like an overall great guy. And unfortunately, she chose Jorge, who seemed like an absolute train wreck of a relationship to be with. And maybe production pushed to that because they knew it would be a good story. I don't know. But it could also be that maybe she's used to these chaotic relationships. And oftentimes our body will go towards what is familiar, regardless if it's healthy or not. So maybe that was a dynamic there that she just felt like it was kind of quote unquote boring with Justin. I don't know. But anyway, she ended up with Jorge. They go to the promise room, they agree, even though their age gap is insane. And he tells her during the promise room that he doesn't do the whole baby mama thing. He told her, if he wants to have kids, he'll have kids with someone he's going to be with forever. He doesn't do the baby mama thing. So in her mind, she's thinking, okay, he doesn't have any kids. Come to find out, when they get to their apartment and they're with everyone else, homeboy has kids and didn't tell her. So I'm like, what? What are we, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I don't know
That
what he's,
little fact.
yeah, I don't know. I forgot what excuse he even said, but it's not a good excuse, regardless of what it is, because that's a huge deal to have kids that are probably her age or older than
And he
her.
never revealed their ages. He said his son was 24, but not the
Mhm.
daughter. He said, my daughter is around your age.
So I'm thinking probably 30 or something,
Or 45.
or 45. Yeah,
I
that
feel
too.
like he was just trying to skirt around it.
Yeah, he was a smooth, fast talker. Not even smooth, just a fast talker. And
Criminal defense attorney.
yes, and we just could clock him immediately from the retreat that he just was not a good guy. And he showed his colors as the show went on. Because one of the big things that she had mentioned in the promise room was that she is celibate. She wants to be celibate until she gets married, which he's like, okay, I can respect that, knowing damn well he was not going to respect that, because we're just like, he said to the cameras, like, I don't get it, but I'll respect it. It's like, that's already setting yourself up to push the boundaries with her. And we get to the apartment, and what happens next?
So going back a bit, I wanted to share my thoughts about Jorge.
Okay, yeah.
I love it. Online people are like, man, he's Unc,
Yes.
aka Uncle. And this guy is exactly what a 60-year-old would sound like and would dress like. And I don't know if I would guess 60, but definitely probably like 55.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that she was very confused about his age was interesting. But yeah, fast talking. And I was talking to my sister about it, who's an attorney, and she just was like, when you're that fast talking, you got something to hide. I don't trust you. And always kind of trying to teach lessons
Yeah,
and
so weird.
like, I know better and you're a little youngin', and just trying to be smooth, but it just not coming across as smooth.
Mhm.
Maybe people like that personality type. I do not.
No.
I run from that kind of personality type, especially when I was on the dating apps. Like, no. So that was just funny as a viewer to watch that, because again, Vanelle was very confused
Mm-hmm.
and shocked when she found out that he was 60. So yeah, fast forward to what you're talking about regarding the celibacy thing. Well, one, she was on top of him,
I know.
grinding.
Yeah, they were both a mess with that whole celibacy journey.
Yeah. And so can you still do those things and be celibate? Yes. That being said, there are consequences, which is that it's going to be confusing to your
Mhm.
partner. I think a big thing that didn't happen, and maybe it did, we didn't see it, was a moment for her to sit down and describe, what does celibacy mean to me?
Mhm.
What are my deal breakers? What am I willing to do and not willing to do physically?
Yeah.
In his brain, it was very black or white, all or nothing. If you're celibate, you're not doing anything with me.
Mhm.
Probably we're only going to do little kisses. That's it. But in her mind, no, she still was very much steadfast in that belief. And she was okay with some of the sexual things that she was doing. So unfortunately, because she started doing stuff like that, he started to just kind of challenge her
Mhm.
and almost mock her a bit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're Mrs. Celibate. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I know there's a scene there in the gym, and she was watching him do a specific exercise, and his bicep was popping or something like that, and she made a comment about that, and he was like, "Oh, like,
Mhm.
what are you doing?" Almost like she's not supposed to have eyes and
Yeah.
find him attractive at all, but that was interesting.
Yeah, and on the subject of celibacy, there was a point that they were recording that I don't think she knew that they were recording the audio, and he was mentioning like, "Hey, so, there," he was confused because it's confusing what she's doing, and he was like, what was that?" She's like, "Oh, that was the oral pleasure," or something like that. And he's like, "What?" And so again, it seems like she had a very specific view of what celibacy meant. So if she was clear about that, he wouldn't have been so confused. And if he communicated with her like what he thought celibacy was, she could have clarified. So I think there's a lot of miscommunication there. But yeah, like you said, he was weaponizing that, and instead of seeing like, "Oh, I think we just have different definitions of it," just again mocking her, like you said, or just making her feel like an idiot a lot of times. And she was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to let you talk to me that way. But then there was this other situation that we didn't get a full picture of what exactly happened, but she was very taken aback by it. And from what it sounds like, they were out walking at night, and maybe like a homeless guy came up to them and said something, and he went into like protector mode and was like kind of yelling at this guy and kind of getting pretty aggressive with him. I don't think it ever got physical, but just like yelling at him. And she was saying like that, "I didn't like that. That scared me." And instead of validating her emotion, like, "I can hear that that was scary for you," what he was doing was rationalizing what he did and going in defense mode. It's like, "Well, I'm protecting my woman. Like, why would you not want to be protected?" Like, all these things. And so there was, again, that big miscommunication there, which we talked about in our communication episode a couple episodes ago. So if you haven't heard that, just go back and listen to that. So they just had a big communication issue with that. But that seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back with their relationship, because after that, again, he wasn't hearing her. She wasn't feeling heard, not only on that, but also on the celibacy thing. And just the way that he carried himself in a relationship, it was kind of like "I know better than you," which for a lot of relationships where someone's 60 and someone's 27, there is going to be that kind of natural dynamic that will be there unless you actually work through it, which I don't think they had. But anyway, that ended the relationship. She left, and they didn't go to the end. They just ended it there.
So fast forward to their reunion, which again we didn't watch, but we caught some highlights. They said that they're on good terms and that their relationship status was complicated.
Oh my gosh.
And
Why
then
is there even a relationship at all with them?
when they were asked would they rekindle things, they basically dodged the question.
Oh my gosh.
So time will tell.
I don't understand people like that. It's like, it's clearly not going to work, but maybe they love the chaos. I don't know.
I'm wondering, are there some daddy issues maybe?
Potentially. I don't know. There's something going on there, because it's wild that it's wild, one, that she would choose him, but then after seeing kind of how he is, would still choose to work things out with him.
Mm.
I don't know. But I mean, it's not my life, so I mean, it is what it is, but I don't see why it's a thing still.
As an aside, there doesn't always have to be a father wound of sorts.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be an organic relationship. That's just something I'm curious about.
Mhm.
He could treat her very well and they can have a good time. So maybe that part of the relationship is appealing. But all of us were witnessing other sides of him. So it's interesting if she would be okay with that. And if so,
Yeah.
why?
But I do wonder, because it does sound like she is a little bit more traditional than a lot of people, and as a 60-year-old man, he seemed definitely a lot more traditional, so maybe she likes that traditional part of him. But it's interesting because it sounds like for her, she likes that tradition, but in theory, but not in practice. So, I don't know.
Yeah, like be the leader, dominate basically,
Yeah.
but only if it looks one particular way.
Right. So, anyway, that's the Age of Attraction. We do recommend it. It was entertaining. I don't think that it's going to be renewed for another season, but we talked about what we thought It could be because we think the premise is good because I don't think age should be a complete disqualifier for people if they're of legal age. But there are things that we would change about the format of the show. So, did you want to talk about some of your ideas about the show?
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting if they would have revealed their ages at the very end
Mm,
instead of how it was, where they were on the mountain at the end. They decided if they wanted to move forward. No, go through the retreat, live together, meet family and friends, and then reveal it. Because you have all that data, all that experience, and the feeling. And then you could be like, oh, this person is significantly younger than me or significantly older than me. Does that age trump everything that I just went through?
hmm.
So that's one thing. I also think that they should have everybody live in the same city
Oh my gosh,
to
yeah.
give people a fighting chance to actually see it through.
At baseline.
Yeah. What are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, so I echo a lot of the things that you said. I think all of those things would be more conducive to success for a lot of these couples. But another thing that I thought about, I kind of liked some of the format of the ultimatum. So if you've never seen the ultimatum, it has couples come to the show where one person wants to get married, the other person doesn't. And so they take these couples, they split them up, essentially break them up, and they have them live with someone from the other couples that are in the ultimatum for like 2 weeks, kind of see if
The grass is greener on the other side.
yeah, see if the grass is greener on the other side, and then after those 2 weeks, come back to their original partner to see if this feels better, if that would be if they're more willing to get married, all of that. So I think in the age of attraction, I think it would be cool to have people in the same age group all get together and they all pick someone from their age group and then also pick someone from an age gap group, right? So then they kind of mingle with the older people or younger people and pick someone from there. And then have like a 2 week period where they're living with their same age person, and then a 2 week period where they're living with the older person or younger person and see if there was a huge difference, right? And that way they can really see like, okay, maybe the age isn't as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be because I actually connected more with this older person than I did with the younger person. So I think, and then at the end, I think they could maybe all decide like, I want to be with the older person or the same age person. And if they choose the same person, then they go together and continue on. But if they choose different ones, then obviously nobody gets together. But
Yeah, I like that idea. They can answer the question, is age just a number
hmm.
or not? Kind of like how in Love is Blind, they'll ask, is love truly blind?
Yeah.
Another thing I was thinking is that they should have had 3 age gap couples and 3 regular age couples and
Yeah.
followed the 6 of them. Because you could still have that social experiment component.
Hmm.
How are things faring with the regular couples, quote unquote regular couples, compared to the age gap couples? And just see, did they have more success or not? I think that would have been interesting.
Yeah, because that's something that they did at the end of the promise ceremony. They showed that there were a lot of other couples that were around the same age that did get together, but they didn't follow them because it didn't make good TV. But yeah, I agree. I think it would have been cool to see how they compare to the other people because it this was like a very skewed version of what we could have seen. And it doesn't really answer the question because it's you don't have anything to compare it to.
Yeah, and Justin, the guy that Vanilla was talking to before she picked Jorge, he went to the promise room with someone else
Mm,
because I saw that woman's TikTok.
interesting.
So it just goes to show you what these networks and these production companies think is best. But
Mhm.
in all reality, there's so many of us who want real relationships reflected on the TV, but
Yeah.
we just don't get that because that's not what quote unquote sells.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because I do think long gone are the days of the Camerons and Laurens, right? Of like these really genuine couples that are there for love, that are getting together and having these really lovely, perfect, not perfect, but great relationships. Because I think they're just getting people who are going to create drama or people are auditioning for the show that just want to create a following. So, I do wish that there were more authentic relationships on these shows because they are good too.
So that's it for today's episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If so, send this episode to someone maybe they've watched the show and they be curious about our thoughts. But we appreciate the support as always. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Later.